my grandmother said when she was crowned, coronations are a declaration of our hopes for the future.
Since the death of the Queen, the British royal family has witnessed several waves of change and have remained the center of focus ever since. Many are looking forward to the changes that will come with the changes in administration. But the late Queen's will just seems to have provided another area of focus. Just as Williams read out the will, tension was high, and even became worse when the details started to drop. Things seemed not to just go as expected, as the late Queen's will had a lot more than they had in mind. You will be thrilled to find out some of those the Queen left some of her most treasured belongings to. Let's get right into it. Queen Elizabeth II died on September 8, 2022, after a record-breaking reign of 70 years, leaving behind a large estate, a legacy of duty, and immense responsibility for the members of her house. Though this was a sad day throughout the world, to her successors, it was the beginning of a new and uncertain chapter. At the time of her death, her personal fortune was estimated at about £370 million, and a wide estate that includes Balmoral Castle and Sandringham, to name but a few, not forgetting all the heirlooms and collections of art. Queen Elizabeth's will had been steeped in traditional royal secrecy, with complications no one could fully foresee. Apart from the sharing of her wealth and other property among her heirs, some surprising legacies unfolded a completely new vision that she had concerning the monarchy. This was bound to raise modern debates on the revision of the conventions of royalty and how that family should be growing naturally with current society, while hanging on to traditions dating centuries. Having to come to terms with the surprising results of her will was symbolic, but it brought up many practical questions about what it meant. Some bequests were aimed at healing family rifts, while others underlined her reaching for change. This obliged the royal family to work out their duties with a focus on renewed modernity, transparency, and unity, assured of relevance in a world that continues to reshape itself. Situated in the Scottish Highlands, Balmoral Castle holds a special place in the annals of the British monarchy. It serves as not only a royal residence but also a symbol of personal attachment, family traditions, and refuge from the mass media. Acquired as early as 1852 by Queen Victoria and Prince Albert, it soon became associated with their love for Scotland. It is an estate with 50,000 acres of beautiful countryside, hills, forests, and rivers that have been most liked by the royals for generations. Much more than a retreat location for the royal family over time, different milestones in the history of the royal family have emerged from Balmoral, including happy occasions, reunions, and consoling hours. The death of Queen Elizabeth II in 2022 started a very public debate about the future of Balmoral, as it holds so much significance for the family. While it had been well documented that the late Queen privately owned the castle upon her death, as many had expected, the property was to be given to her son Charles. Unlike most other residences, such as Buckingham Palace or Windsor Castle, Balmoral was not part of the Crown estate, meaning it was owned by Elizabeth in her private capacity. What this means is that she can dispose of it how she likes without any parliamentary oversight. Many had assumed that the automatic route would be for it to pass to Charles, who has spoken at some considerable length about his love of the estate, which turned out to be the case. However, the Queen's will, a document which the British legal norm keeps under wraps, continues to be of interest to the public. Wills of the sovereign, unlike those of ordinary citizens, are not made to bear the scrutiny of the public and so casts a shadow of mystery over her actual decisions. Consequently, there have been speculations on whether the transfer of Balmoral to Charles was in tune with Elizabeth's private wishes and whether other heirs could have been considered to take its care. Reports had it that the late Queen held Balmoral in deep affection, often referring to it as her happy place. It was at Balmoral that she spent many cherished moments with her family, including the annual summer holidays. It is also where she eventually died, lending more importance to its legacy. To Charles, Balmoral speaks volumes about family tradition, and deeper ties with his mother. On the other hand, public interest in the terms of the will brought other members of the royal family under public scrutiny, with many trying to find out what they actually think about the distribution of the estate. Many focused their attention on Prince William and Princess Anne, due to the significant place that they hold in the line of succession. The secrecy around the transfer of Balmoral has contributed to broader discussions about the finances of the royal family and how personal inheritances inside the monarchy are being managed. Critics said the secrecy surrounding Queen Elizabeth's will only show the lack of accountability that has always sheltered the family from scrutiny about how it divides assets worth millions and hold very significant values. It has reminded the public of the ever-complex relationship between the public and the monarchy when it comes to the issues of finances in running the royal household. In all these debates, the transfer of Balmoral to Charles seems to mark some kind of continuity in the family. He indicated he would like the Balmoral tradition to be maintained, hoping it will serve in the preservation of tradition and the transition into a modern monarchy. The new monarch proved to be an ecologist. Though already known from many of his other interventions, he declared that this estate should be far more sustainable than it is today, and attached significant importance to giving a place to nature conservation and ecotourism, both at home and all around the world. These would modernize the legacy of the estate, but at the same time not erode its place in history. However, the intrigue over the Balmoral handover was not restricted to the public arena. Within the royal circle, there are speculations over what the Queen had in mind, and the possibility of a family feud made it all the more intriguing. While the royals publicly put up a united front, sources close to the family would have said the future of Balmoral had been debated for years. If this turns out to be true, then it means that Charles is now faced with a big burden of uniting the family and carrying out his duties. However, to Charles, the inheritance of Balmoral was a bittersweet experience and an immense responsibility. It was clear to all that he had stepped into a long history and an emotive burden as he took over the estate. Balmoral means something other than a haven for the royal family. It is a symbol of the continued relations between the monarchy and Scotland, to which Charles has pledged his commitment. For some, the stewardship he has exercised over Balmoral reflects his wider approach to the monarchy in balancing tradition with a more modern outlook. Discussions about Balmoral underlined abiding interest in the question of royal inheritance, with some of the deeply personal dimensions surrounding a very public institution. The secrecy that has surrounded the Queen's will, coupled with the symbolic weight attached to Balmoral, lent added to heated debates on the royals' wealth, transparency, and familial dynamics. While the mystery of its transfer may never be unraveled, the legacy of Balmoral stands intact, as it has through the years as a treasured retreat location for the royal family. When Charles inherited Balmoral, he became tasked with the duty of keeping the memory of his mother alive and along with it, a long history of traditions that have been passed down over generations. As he took charge, many were focused on seeing what he would do differently and what this would mean for the future of the British monarchy. Outside the Balmoral, the will also spoke of some of the Queen's personal treasures that were spread among members of the royal family, sparking more debates. This includes a private collection of jewelry belonging to Queen Elizabeth II, which spoke volumes about her immaculate taste and the rich history of the British monarchy. When she finally died, interest in how those jewels would be divided was very strong, especially since some of the members of the family fell out of the line of direct succession. Turns out that the Queen had something for everyone, perhaps as a nod toward a more inclusive royal tradition. One of the beneficiaries of the Queen's personal collections is Catherine, Duchess of Cambridge. Among other pieces, she received the iconic Cartier halo tiara, famously worn on her wedding day. Originally bought by King George VI for his wife, Queen Elizabeth, this tiara features nearly 1,000 diamonds, and it was transferred to Catherine in honor of not only her position within the family, but also linking her to previous queens in history. Before the Queen's death, Meghan, the then Duchess of Sussex, also received some of the most important pieces from the Queen's collection, including the diamond bandeau tiara, made in 1932, with its centerpiece brooch made in 1893, which was loaned to her for her wedding. This was a gesture to make her feel welcomed into the royal family, as the Queen tried to integrate Meghan into all things royal. The Queen had also been bequeathed a number of pieces on Queen Camilla, the former Duchess of Cornwall, which includes the Greville tiara, an exquisite diamond piece with a honeycomb pattern that had originally belonged to Dame Margaret Greville and was left to the Queen Mother. This is a very meaningful gesture, and Camilla has kept the memory alive by wearing this tiara as a blend of personal and official royal duties. There is also the Queen's only daughter, Princess Anne, who received pieces to evidence just how much her mother valued Princess Anne's continued devotion to her royal duties. Indeed, Anne has been believed to have gotten several heirloom pieces in the form of brooches and necklaces, which had originally belonged to her mother, testifying to the deep bond between them. Another to wear one of the Queen's gifts is Sophie, Countess of Wessex, as she was spotted in the 5 aquamarine tiara, which is part of the Queen's personal collection. That such an important piece was given to Sophie just reveals how close she was to the Queen. Notably, some of the items bequeathed were given to people even outside the royal family. Angela Kelly, personal dresser and confidant of Queen Elizabeth II, reportedly received a few brooches and personal mementos. The breaking of this latter tradition underlines the Queen's recognition of loyal service and personal relationships outside the royal bloodlines. In fact, it was the division of such jewels that set the whole gesture as a major deviation from convention, since such a fortune conventionally should have been bound within direct succession. The Queen extended her bequests into a wider circle, making a subtle statement for a more inclusive monarchy, rewarding according to service and personal connection rather than lineage. The approach places the late Queen as a major factor in changing the face of the monarchy in the 21st century. Giving significant attention to various beneficiaries showed that she stood to make modern conventions of royalty one that could stay both relevant and close to the people they serve. After all, the partitioning of Queen Elizabeth II's personal jewels was not only about questions of honoring relationships, but attempts to force this monarchy towards a new threshold. She broke convention by making good on her word of personal attachment and service, thus setting into motion the precedent for the transition from a secluded royal family into one far more inclusive and modern. The death of Queen Elizabeth II was a moment of great transition within the British monarchy, not only with regard to leadership, but also the personal relationships that exist within the family. Of the numerous bequests in her will, perhaps one of the more surprising ones was to Prince Harry, the Duke of Sussex, who has stepped away from the royal duties and moved with his wife to the United States. It sent tongues wagging in speculation and debate about what this portended for family relationships and even the future of the monarchy. Far more interesting than anything else was what Prince Harry is said to have gotten from the Queen's will, including a reportedly substantial financial inheritance, possibly from the Queen Mother's trust fund that had been set up for her great-grandchildren. This was estimated at about £19 million, with Prince Harry said to receive a larger share, perhaps because he is the younger son, whereas Prince William, as future king, would benefit from other financial provisions. Besides the financial legacy, there had been much speculation about a symbolic gift that has been left to Prince Harry, which many believe to be a ceremonial sword. Though its origin and historic meaning were not revealed, the fact that Harry was its heir led to a number of speculations. Some imagine it to be a gesture, in the form of an olive branch, to heal the rift that had only continued to grow wider since Harry retreated from active royal life. People believe that the sword serves as a symbol of both honor and duty, Hence, it would remind him of his royal heritage and the responsibility that goes with such heritage. Others interpreted this rumored bequest to be a symbol of what Prince Harry had lost in giving up the official active roles within the monarchy. It would, therefore, act like a constant reminder of the royal duties which he had given up in the pursuit of a more private life. This ambiguity was heightened because of the secrecy of the Queen's will, leading to even more speculations. Whereas the wills of all other British citizens are public records, the wills of senior royals are sealed and not disclosed. Cloaked in legal precedents, the exact nature of the Queen's bequests, let alone the nature and importance of items left to Prince Harry, remains out of the gaze of the public. This veil of secrecy has perpetuated speculation and uncertainty in the public domain regarding some of the key content of the will. This lack of transparency therefore fuels various interpretations and rumors associated with the will. It is highly difficult to discern the intentions of the Queen's bequests. Some believe that the will might have been the cause of some of the rifts within the royal family, but there have been no way to confirm this claims. Some seem to believe that one reason she included Prince Harry in the will may be a means of holding him close to her family, whatever his status may be, away from the duties of a royal. Maybe this might have been her last attempt to unite the family, in order to preserve the bonds that they have shared for generations. However, the secrecy around the will keeps the public in the dark on the real situation of things at the moment. As the institution scrambles to be relevant and find its place in modern society, its practices of confidentiality and exclusivity tend to conflict with people's expectations of transparency and openness. The tension of such a delicate balance that the monarchy has to effect between tradition and the changing values of the society it represents is perfectly highlighted by the handling of the Queen's will. Beyond it all, the unexpected mention of Prince Harry in the will of Queen Elizabeth II has raised several discussions and speculations, especially over the rumored inheritance of a ceremonial sword. This bequest is symbolic with a myriad of perspectives, from reconciliation to the consequences for his stepping away from royal duties. The death of Queen Elizabeth II brought a sea change in the British monarchy, leaving an enduring sense of duty weighing heavy on her successors. Her death was followed by divisions within the royal family, polarizing its members in a delicate balancing act between tradition and modernity, with a generational gap and highly differential views regarding the role that needed to be portrayed by the monarchy, with everyone seeming to interpret his or her role quite personally. At the center of it all is Prince William, the new Prince of Wales, who has now become the glue that keeps them together. Charged with making the monarchy relevant to a world that appears to be racing towards constant change, William is charged with modernizing the royal institution, while trying to preserve those traditions at its core. Showing openness toward increasing publicity and working directly with charities, he made clear his determination to close the gap between the past and the present in order to preserve the monarchy. As you would expect, his task hasn't been easy, with festering family wounds continuing to complicate the narrative. All eyes remain on the royal family like never before, with many seeing whatever next step they would take as a crucial one in deciding the fate of the British monarchy. And that will be all for this video. Do check out other video in the channel, and we will see you in the next one.